Hi, I'm Terry Kramer, and I teach at UCLA Anderson Executive Education, focus on technology management. I look at areas of technology-based innovation, the impact of innovation on competitive positioning, and looking at the impact on society, and all along the way, the importance of the leadership journey. I've been teaching at UCLA Anderson for 8 years. Prior to that, I was the regional president at Vodafone Americas and group strategy officer for Vodafone Group PLC. I became a business school professor to really take my learnings from industry and apply them on the leadership journey for students, getting their MBA, being involved in certain certificate programs, etc. It has been a complete thrill. I received my undergraduate degree from UCLA in economics, my MBA from Harvard, and then had an 18-year career at Vodafone, including heading up corporate strategy and heading the Americas. I then had a chance to work in the U.S. State Department focused on negotiating an internet governance treaty as a U.S. ambassador. And this opportunity to teach, to take some of my learnings, extrapolate them, and really share those with students to see how they can advance their own leadership journey, thinking about strategy, thinking about operations and execution, and thinking about the role of people. The thing that excites me most about teaching is working with students, is seeing that kind of light bulb go off when they think about new opportunities, think about their role as a leader, think about technology, etc. That is the single biggest thrill of teaching. And along the way, the imperative for me to stay current, to really think about what's going on in the most recent environment and how does that affect the leadership journey of my students. You know, it's been great seeing my students apply their learnings. One of the things I enjoy the most is getting a note from former students from a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago that share some aspect of my class and skills they acquired there that they use in their current work environment. One example is I'm very big on the so whats. Whenever you look at a case, a problem that a leader is facing, and then look at a lot of elements of context about the company, about the marketplace, about competition, about technology, I always encourage my students to think about what is the so what of all this information that they've received? How can they distill down all of the facts to something that's relevant ultimately against a decision that needs to be taken? That skill is something I learned at Vodafone that I've tried to hone and teach at Anderson, and certainly seeing students master that and use that in the workforce is a huge thrill. If I were starting a career today in business, one of the things that I would be thinking about, and matter of fact, telling myself, is to really focus on 3 things. One is really think about, where does my passion lie? What am I excited about? What industries, what companies, what types of problems, what type of settings, etc. Number 2, where am I going to learn the most? You know, coming out of an MBA program and coming out of school and a variety of programs, that importance of learning, which to me is even more important now than it was 10 years ago, 20 years ago, because our environment is changing so rapidly. Technology is changing, globalization is changing, the role of leaders in society is changing. And so getting into a role where I'm going to learn a lot that would propel me, to me, was a second important piece of advice. And then the third piece of advice is go into a sector that's growing. It sounds kind of basic, but in this environment where technology and globalization and other things are changing industries, you want to be in industries, everything else being held equal, that are growing, that have opportunities, as opposed to industries that are going through a decline, are being disrupted, etc. So I'd give myself that advice and hope it would pay out well over time.